The Great Hall of Nexus Prime buzzed with worried voices. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in their floating chairs, their different shapes and colors creating a rainbow of alien life. At the center podium, Ambassador Deho of the Veltari people held an ancient book in his four-fingered hands. "My friends," Deho said, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "we are losing this war. The Devourers have taken 12 star systems in the past month alone. Our fleets cannot stop them." Murmurs of agreement filled the air. The mechanical enemy known as the Devourers had appeared from the dark space between galaxies 6 months ago. They consumed everything in their path. Planets, ships, entire civilizations. No weapon seemed to hurt them for long. They learned from every attack and became stronger. "I have brought something that might help," Deho continued. He opened the old book carefully. Its pages were yellow with age. "These are the ancient records of the Lost Ones. They speak of a species that once existed in the outer rim of our galaxy." Bora, the tall and thin historian from the Kelrani people, stood up. Her 3 eyes blinked in disbelief. "Surely you do not mean the human myths? Those stories are just tales to frighten children." "Are they?" Deho asked. He began to read from the book. The text says, "They came from a world of water and stone where life fought every day to survive. They were not the strongest or the fastest, but they never gave up. When others fell, they stood. When others ran, they fought. They turned every battle into their victory." Several aliens laughed. The idea seemed impossible. Every species in the galaxy had evolved in their own way. The Veltari were great builders. The Kelrani were brilliant thinkers. The Alterians were skilled pilots, but no species could do everything well. "There is more," Deho said. "The humans could survive in any environment. They ate poison and made it food. They breathed toxic air and made it clean. They took enemy weapons and made them better. Most important of all, they protected other species as if they were their own children." Commander Taimin of the Alterian Defense Force had been listening quietly. His blue skin darkened with thought. "Even if these humans existed, they are gone now. These stories are thousands of years old." "Perhaps," Deho said. "But the records describe their fighting methods. Maybe we can learn from them." He read another passage. "When outnumbered, they did not retreat. They split their forces and attacked from many directions. When their weapons failed, they used tools and rocks. When their ships were damaged, they fixed them with spare parts from destroyed enemies. They never fought the same battle twice." The hall grew quiet. These tactics went against everything they knew about proper warfare. Galactic military doctrine was based on order, formation, and predictable strategies. The idea of constant change and chaos seemed wrong. "This is madness," said General Varkoth of the mighty hegemony forces. His massive frame shook with anger. "Proper war has rules, formations, honor. These human stories described on barbarians." But Commander Taimin was thinking differently. His people had lost 3 fleets to the Devourers in the past month. Traditional tactics had failed every time. The enemy machines learned their patterns and prepared counters. Maybe chaos was exactly what they needed. "Tell us more about their weapons," Taimin said. Deho turned more pages. "They created tools for every situation. Not just one perfect weapon, but many different ones. They made explosives from farming chemicals. They turned cargo ships into warships. They used mining equipment to destroy enemy fortresses." "Impossible," muttered several voices. "The strangest part," Deho continued, "is that they helped everyone. The records show humans saving other species even when it put them in danger. They took in refugees from wars that were not their own. They shared their technology freely. They died to protect planets they had never seen before." This caused more laughter. In the current galaxy, every species looked after themselves first. Trade agreements and military alliances existed, but true sacrifice for strangers was rare. As the meeting continued, reports came in from the front lines. Another Devourer fleet had been spotted moving toward the core worlds. Their destination appeared to be the heavily populated Centauri system, home to billions of civilians. "We must evacuate the system," General Varkoth declared. "With what ships?" Commander Taman asked bitterly. "Half our transport fleet is already destroyed or busy with other evacuations." The room fell silent. They all knew the truth. The galaxy was losing this war badly. Their enemies were too strong, too smart, too adaptable. Every victory was temporary. Every defeat was permanent. That night, Taemin could not sleep. He found himself in the station's archives, searching through old files. His people, the Alterians, were known for keeping detailed records. If these human stories had any truth to them, there might be more evidence hidden away. After hours of searching, he found something interesting. Buried in archaeological reports from the Outer Rim were descriptions of strange ruins. The buildings used unusual materials that could repair themselves. The design showed signs of rapid construction and modification. Tools were found that seemed to have been changed many times for different purposes. Most interesting were the star charts. They showed detailed knowledge of every species in the galaxy, including ones that had only been discovered recently. How could an ancient civilization know about peoples they had never met? The more Taiman read, the more convinced he became. These were not ruins of a dead civilization. They were too recent, too well maintained. Someone had been watching the galaxy for a very long time. As dawn broke over Nexus Prime, alarms began to sound. Scout ships reported a massive devourer fleet approaching the outer colonies. This force was larger than any they had seen before. Worse, it was heading directly for the trade routes that connected most of the galaxy. In the emergency session that followed, every military leader agreed on one thing. They needed a miracle. Their conventional forces could delay the enemy for a few weeks at most. After that, the core worlds would be defenseless. Ambassador Deho stood again with his ancient book. The human legends speak of one more thing. They say that in the darkest hour, when all hope seemed lost, the humans would return. They would come from the empty spaces between the stars, bringing salvation to those who needed it most. Fairy tales, General Varkoth said dismissively. But Commander Taiman was staring at the tactical displays showing the approaching devourer fleet. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he found himself hoping that fairy tales could come true. Far from the bright lights of Nexus Prime on a small blue planet called Earth, Captain Hyojin sat in a hidden bunker deep beneath the Korean mountains. Banks of screens showed her everything happening in the galaxy. For 30 years, humanity had been watching and listening. The bunker was part of the Deep Space Monitoring Network. Humans had discovered alien civilizations decades ago when their radio telescopes picked up strange signals from space. Instead of announcing themselves, Earth's leaders made a different choice. They decided to study the galaxy first. "Captain," said Lieutenant Minho from his position at the communication station, "we're getting more reports about the Devourer. Advance. The Centauri system is requesting emergency evacuation support." Hyojin nodded grimly. She had been watching the war unfold for months. The alien civilizations were brave, but they fought like they were still playing games. They followed rules that their enemy ignored. They used the same tactics over and over, even when those tactics failed. "Any word from Earth Command?" she asked. "Still the same orders, Captain. Observe only. Do not interfere." This was the hardest part of her job. Hyojin had joined the Space Force to protect people, but Earth's government had strict rules about staying hidden. They called it the Non-Interference Protocol. The idea was to learn everything about the galaxy before revealing humanity's existence. In another part of the bunker, Dr. Jinwoo worked at his laboratory stations. As Earth's leading expert on alien technology, he had spent years studying intercepted transmissions and salvaged debris from space battles. Human scientists had made amazing progress by copying and improving alien designs. The Devourers are using quantum mesh computing, Jinwoo explained to his assistant, Engineer Yunju. Their ships share information instantly across vast distances. That's how they adapt so quickly to enemy tactics. "Can we break their communication?" Yunju asked. "Maybe. I've been working on a virus program that might confuse their network. But we would need to get close to one of their ships to upload it." On the main screens, they watched as another alien fleet engaged the Devourers near a mining station. The battle followed the same pattern they had seen dozens of times. The alien ships formed neat lines and fired their weapons in organized volleys. The Devourers immediately began adapting their shields and maneuvering to counter the attack pattern. Within an hour, the alien fleet was destroyed. The few survivors fled in different directions, leaving the mining station defenseless. "This is painful to watch," Minho said. "Why do they keep fighting the same way?" "Because it's all they know," Hyejin replied. "Every species in the galaxy evolved on safe worlds with plenty of resources. They never had to learn real survival skills. Earth was different. Humanity had evolved on a dangerous planet where everything tried to kill them. Ice ages, volcanoes, diseases, predators, natural disasters. Humans had survived by being adaptable. They learned to use everything as a tool and to change their tactics constantly." The communication console suddenly lit up with an emergency signal. Lieutenant Minho quickly decoded the message. "Captain, we have a refugee convoy requesting help. Veltari civilians fleeing the Antares system. They're being chased by Devourer scouts." On the screen they could see the convoy, 15 cargo ships packed with families trying to escape the war zone. Behind them, 3 sleek Devourer hunters were closing the distance. "How long until they reach the convoy?" Hyejin asked. 18 minutes at current speed." "And the nearest alien patrol?" 3 hours away. The convoy will be destroyed long before help arrives." Hyejin stared at the screen. The refugee ships were full of children. She could see their life signs on the sensors. Innocent people who had done nothing wrong except live in the path of an advancing war. "Captain," Yunju said quietly, "my virus program is ready for field testing. If we could get close to those Devourer ships—" "We have orders," Minho reminded them. "Non-interference. Orders written by people sitting safely on Earth," Hyejin said. She thought about the military oath she had taken years ago. To protect the innocent, to defend those who could not defend themselves. Did that oath stop applying just because the innocent people were aliens? Her finger hovered over the communication console. She could contact Earth Command and request permission to intervene. But the discussion would take hours, and the refugees would be dead in minutes. On the screen, the Devourer ships opened fire. Their energy beams reached out toward the fleeing convoy. Hyejin made her decision. "Minho, bring us out of stealth mode. Unju, prepare your virus, all crew to battle stations." "Captain," Minho said, "this will reveal our existence to the galaxy. Then maybe it's time the galaxy knew we were here." The human ship Indomitable powered up its engines and dropped its cloaking field. Unlike the smooth, elegant designs of alien vessels, it looked rough and practical. Human engineers built their ships to be repaired and modified quickly in the field. "Devourer scouts, this is Captain Hyejin of the Earth ship Indomitable. You will cease your attack on the civilian convoy immediately." The response came as a stream of data rather than words. The Devourer artificial intelligence was analyzing this new threat. Where had this ship come from? What species built it? Why were its design patterns unlike anything in their database? Instead of replying, the Devourers simply redirected their attack toward the human ship. "That's what I thought you'd do," Hyejin said. "Yunju, are you ready?" "Virus loaded and ready for upload, Captain." "Minho, bring us in close. Use the convoy ships as cover." What happened next shocked the Devourer computers. Instead of engaging in a proper space battle at long range, the human ship dove directly into the middle of the convoy. It used the refugee vessels to block enemy fire while maneuvering at impossible angles. The Devourers tried to target the human ship without hitting the civilians, but Hyejin kept moving unpredictably. She accelerated when they expected her to turn, turned when they expected her to retreat, and attacked when they expected her to defend. "This is insane," said one of the Veltari ship captains over the emergency channel. "What kind of pilot fights like this?" "A human pilot," Hyejin said grimly. She brought the Indomitable alongside one of the Devourer scouts and ordered Yunju to upload the virus through a physical connection. The enemy ship's shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not boarding cables. The virus spread through the Devourer network like wildfire, Instead of attacking the ship's systems directly, it filled the computers with random, chaotic data. The logical alien minds could not process the flood of useless information. One by one, the Devourer scouts began to malfunction. Their perfect coordination broke down as the virus spread confusion through their shared consciousness. But the battle was not over. The lead Devourer ship, larger than the others, began charging its main weapon. It would destroy both the human ship and the convoy rather than let them escape. "Captain," Minho reported, "their main gun will fire in 30 seconds. We can't get clear in time." Heejin looked at the tactical display. The refugee ships were already accelerating towards safety, but they would not be far enough away when the Devourer fired. "All crew, prepare for emergency evacuation. Yunju, transfer the virus to our backup systems. Minho, set course for ramming speed." "Captain, no," Minho said. "The convoy has to escape. Upload everything we've learned about the Devourers to Earth Command. Tell them the non-interference protocol ends today." The Indomitable accelerated directly toward the Devourer destroyer. At the last second, Heijin ejected the crew pods toward the convoy ships. The human vessel, now operating on autopilot, smashed into the enemy ship's weapon array just as it fired. The explosion lit up space for thousands of kilometers. When the light faded, both ships were gone, but the convoy was safe. In the aftermath, as the Veltari ships continued toward safety, their crews stared at the debris field where a ship called Indomitable had made the ultimate sacrifice for strangers they had never met. The legend of humans was about to become reality. News of the mysterious rescue spread across the galaxy faster than the speed of light. In communication centers on a dozen worlds, alien operators shared the same impossible story. A ship had appeared from nowhere, fought like nothing they had ever seen, and destroyed itself to save strangers. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Daeho watched the recorded transmissions with growing excitement. The tactical analysis showed everything he had hoped to find. The unknown ship moved without predictable patterns. It used civilian vessels as shields and cover. Most importantly, it sacrificed itself to protect refugees. "This matches the ancient texts perfectly," he told Commander Tai Min. "The fighting style, the willingness to die for others, these are human characteristics." Taemin studied the data carefully. "But humans are supposed to be extinct. These records are thousands of years old." "Maybe they were never extinct," Daeho said quietly. "Maybe they were just hiding." Across the galaxy, other mysterious ships began appearing. Each encounter followed a similar pattern. Unknown vessels would arrive during Devourer attacks, fight with impossible tactics, and disappear before anyone could identify them properly. Captain Dong Hyun commanded one of these ghost ships, the destroyer Soul's Pride. His mission was to extract a team of scientists from a research station under siege. The station's shields were failing and evacuation ships could not get close enough to help. "Sir," reported his navigation officer Yuna, "Devourer cruisers have surrounded the station. There's no clear approach route." "Who said we need a clear route?" Donghyun replied. "Engineering, prepare the thermal charges. We're going in through the debris field." The human ship dove into the wreckage of earlier battles, using destroyed alien vessels as camouflage. Devourer sensors were designed to detect active ships, not to track objects moving among space junk. "Launching rescue pods," announced Lieutenant Hae-Won from the weapons station, but instead of normal escape pods, she fired modified cargo containers that could cut through the station's hull and extract people directly. The Devourers realized they were under attack only when their formation began taking fire from multiple directions. The human ship had launched dozens of small drones, each one carrying simple weapons and basic programming. They swarmed the enemy vessels like angry insects. "This is chaos," transmitted one of the trapped scientists. "How are you coordinating all those drones?" "We're not," Donghyun replied. "Each drone has simple instructions. Find a target and attack. Sometimes chaos works better than coordination." While the drones kept the Devourers busy, the rescue pods collected all 47 scientists from the research station. The operation took 12 minutes from start to finish. By the time the Devourer ships destroyed the last drone, the human vessel had vanished back into the debris field. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Commander So Young faced a much larger challenge. A hospital ship carrying wounded civilians was under attack by an entire Devourer battle group. 8 enemy destroyers surrounded the medical vessel, demanding its surrender. "Ma'am," said her tactical officer Il-sung, "we're outnumbered 8-1. Our ship can't fight all of them." "You're right," So Young agreed. "We can't fight all of them at once, so we won't." Her ship, the Busan Runner, began broadcasting false distress signals on multiple frequencies. To the Devourer sensors, it appeared that several human ships were calling for help from different locations. The enemy fleet immediately split up to investigate these phantom signals. Now, instead of facing 8 ships together, So Young could engage 2 or 3 at a time. "Launching decoy packages," reported engineer Kyung-ja. The packages were simple devices that mimicked human ship signatures. They made the Devourers think they were fighting an entire fleet instead of one destroyer. The battle lasted 6 hours. So Young's ship took heavy damage, but she kept the enemy busy while the hospital ship escaped to safety. Her final transmission, before jumping to hyperspace, was heard across the system. "This is humanity. We don't abandon those who need help." Back on Earth, President Subin sat in the emergency command center beneath Seoul. Reports were coming in from human ships throughout the galaxy. The non-interference protocol was officially dead. "How many ships have we revealed?" she asked Admiral Won-ho. 17 so far, Madam President. All successful missions. No human casualties yet, though several ships took significant damage. And alien reactions? Mixed. Some species are grateful for the help. Others are demanding answers. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session to discuss these unknown ships that keep appearing. Dr. Sang-min, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stepped forward. "Madam President, we can't hide much longer. Our intervention is being recorded and analyzed. They'll figure out we're a single species soon enough." Subin nodded. For 30 years, Earth had prepared for this moment. They had studied alien cultures, learned their languages, and positioned ships throughout the galaxy. Humanity was ready to join galactic civilization, but they would do it on their own terms. "Admiral, how long before the Devourer main fleet reaches the core worlds?" "Intelligence estimates 2 weeks, maybe less." "Then we don't have time for gradual disclosure. Send the order to all human ships. Full revelation protocol. Show them what we can really do." Across the galaxy, the human fleet dropped their cloaking devices simultaneously. On every sensor screen in known space, dozens of ships suddenly appeared, where empty space had been moments before. The alien response was immediate and panicked. Emergency channels filled with confused transmissions as species tried to understand what they were seeing. "Unknown fleet, identify yourselves immediately," demanded the commander of the Alterian patrol near Rigel Station. "This is Admiral Won-ho, of the Terran Defense Force," came the reply. "We are humans and we're here to help." On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Dae-ho felt vindicated as he watched the tactical displays. Every ship showed the same design philosophy described in the ancient texts: multiple redundant systems, modular construction, weapons that could be quickly reconfigured for different situations. "Impossible," breathed General Varkoth. "There are over 60 ships. Where did they come from?" "They've been watching us," Commander Taemin realized. "For years, maybe decades, learning our weaknesses, studying our enemies." The implications hit the assembled aliens like a shockwave. If humans had been observing them secretly, what else did they know? What other secrets had they discovered? But there was no time for detailed questions. Long-range sensors detected the approach of the main Devourer fleet, a force larger than anything seen before. Over 300 enemy ships were moving toward the Centauri system, home to 12 billion civilians. "The evacuation can save maybe 10% of the population," Admiral Varkoth reported. The rest will be protected," Admiral Won-ho said firmly. Humanity did not reveal itself just to watch civilizations die. As the human fleet moved to intercept the approaching enemy, aliens throughout the galaxy watched with a mixture of hope and fear. The legendary humans were real, and they were about to face their greatest test. The myth was becoming reality, but reality was more complex than any legend. Humanity had the power to save the galaxy, or to conquer it. Only time would tell which path they would choose. The virus that engineer Yunju had created from the destroyed ship Indomitable spread through Devourer networks like a digital plague. On research stations throughout the galaxy, alien scientists watched in amazement as their enemy's perfect coordination began to break down. Dr. Yu Jin had been working undercover at the Galactic Research Institute for 8 years. As far as her colleagues knew, she was a brilliant Altarian computer specialist. In reality, she was human, one of dozens of deep-cover agents Earth had placed throughout alien society. The virus code is unlike anything we've seen, her supervisor, Dr. Kethlar, said while examining the data. It doesn't attack the Devourer systems directly. Instead, it floods them with meaningless information. Yujin pretended to study the readings while hiding her excitement. The virus was working exactly as human programmers had designed it. Instead of trying to break Devourer defenses, it overwhelmed them with chaos. Look at this pattern, she said, pointing to the screen. The virus isn't random. It's creating feedback loops that force the enemy computers to waste processing power on pointless calculations. Fascinating, Dr. Kethlar replied. Whoever designed this understood Devourer psychology better than we do. It's almost as if they studied the enemy for years before creating this weapon. They had, Yujin thought to herself. Human intelligence had been analyzing Devourer behavior patterns for months, looking for weaknesses that other species had missed. Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Deho presented his findings to an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The evidence was overwhelming. The mysterious ships that had been appearing throughout the galaxy matched the ancient human legends in every detail. The tactical recordings show clear patterns, he explained to the assembled representatives. These ships use unpredictable movement, improvised weapons, and sacrifice tactics that prioritize protecting others over military objectives. Commander Taman had become a believer after studying the rescue recordings. More importantly, they demonstrate knowledge of our civilizations that should be impossible for a recently contacted species. They know our languages, our protocols, our weaknesses. Which raises an obvious question, said historian Bora. How long have they been watching us? The answer came sooner than expected. Long-range sensors detected another wave of mysterious ships approaching various star systems. But this time, instead of hiding after their missions, the vessels remained in open space and began broadcasting identification signals. This is Captain Seung Woo of the human vessel Gangnam Phoenix, came a transmission on all emergency frequencies. To the peoples of the galaxy, we are humanity, and we have been your silent guardians for 30 years. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Emergency sessions convened on every major world as species tried to understand what this meant. If humans had been watching them for 3 decades, what else did they know? Admiral Wan Ho's flagship, the Terran Dawn, approached Nexus Prime openly for the first time. The massive ship dwarfed most alien vessels, but its design was unlike anything in their databases. Where alien ships were sleek and specialized, the human vessel looked like it had been built to be torn apart and rebuilt constantly. Request permission to address the Galactic Council, Admiral Wan Ho transmitted. Permission granted, came the nervous reply from station control. As the Admiral's shuttle approached the station, alien security forces prepared for every possibility. Were the humans coming in peace? Were they conquerors who had been studying their prey? The legends spoke of humans as protectors, but legends could be wrong. Admiral Wan Ho entered the council chamber wearing a simple uniform that bore no resemblance to the elaborate dress of alien officials. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with graying hair and scars that spoke of military experience. Honored representatives, he began. I am Wan Ho of Earth, Admiral of the Terran Defense Force. I come to offer our assistance in the fight against the Devourers. Assistance? General Varkoth stood up angrily. You've been spying on us for decades. How do we know you're not here to conquer us? Because if we wanted to conquer you, we would have done it already, Wan Ho replied calmly. Our ships have been positioned throughout your space for years. We could have struck at any time. The simple truth of this statement silenced the chamber. If humans had hostile intentions, they had already missed countless opportunities to act on them. Ambassador Deho stepped forward. Admiral, the ancient texts speak of humans as guardians and protectors. Can you explain why your people chose to remain hidden for so long? Wonho considered his answer carefully. When we first discovered galactic civilization, we faced a choice. We could announce ourselves immediately and risk causing panic or war, or we could study your cultures first, learning how to interact peacefully with dozens of different species. You studied us like laboratory specimens, accused Bora. We studied you like potential friends, Wonho corrected. Every species has different customs, different values, different ways of thinking. We wanted to understand you before we met you. Commander Taman asked the question everyone was thinking. What did you learn about us? That you are brave, intelligent, and honorable people who have forgotten how to fight for survival, Wonho said. Your civilizations evolved on safe worlds, with abundant resources. You never had to learn the harsh lessons that shaped humanity. What lessons? Deho asked. That survival requires adaptation. That sometimes you must break the rules to protect the innocent. That true strength comes from working together, even when cooperation seems impossible. On the main display, tactical, reports showed the approaching Devourer main fleet. Over 400 enemy ships were now confirmed heading toward the core systems. The largest alien fleet ever assembled to face them numbered only 150 vessels. You claim to be our guardians, General Varkoth said. How do you propose to stop a force that outnumbers our combined fleets? Not by fighting. The way you've been fighting, Wonho replied. The Devourers expect logical tactics and predictable strategies. They've adapted to counter everything you've tried, but they've never faced human warfare. And what makes human warfare different? Asked Commander Taman. Admiral Wonho smiled grimly. We don't fight to win battles. We fight to win wars. And we're willing to pay any price to protect those who cannot protect themselves. At that moment, Lieutenant Yuna approached with an urgent message. Sir, long-range scouts report the Devourer fleet has changed course. They're heading directly for Nexus Prime. The chamber erupted in panic. Nexus Prime was the political heart of galactic civilization. Its destruction would cripple any organized resistance to the Devourer advance. How long until they arrive? Deho asked. 36 hours, Yuna reported. Impossible to evacuate in time, General Varkoth said. 40 billion people live in this system. Admiral Wonho stood up slowly. Then we don't evacuate. We make our stand here. With what forces? Varkoth demanded. You've shown us perhaps 60 ships. The enemy has 400. Numbers don't always determine victory, Wonho said. Sometimes one ship in the right place can change everything. As if summoned by his words, the communication systems activated with reports from across the galaxy. Human ships were moving from their hidden positions, converging on Nexus Prime from dozens of star systems. This is Captain Mi Young of the Soul Defender, en route to Nexus Prime. Captain Jun Seo aboard Busan Thunder. Estimated arrival in 20 hours. Commander Taiho with the Daegu Storm, ready for battle. The reports continued for several minutes. When they finished, the tactical display showed over 200 human ships heading toward the system. Impossible, breathed Bora. Where did you hide so many vessels? Everywhere, Admiral Wonho said simply. For 30 years we've been preparing for this day. Every asteroid field, every nebula, every empty system in the galaxy has been surveyed and mapped. We know every hiding place, every tactical advantage, every possible battlefield. But even 200 ships cannot defeat 400 Devourer vessels, Varkoth protested. You're right, Wonho agreed. But 200 human ships can do something your fleets have never managed. We can make the enemy afraid. As the human fleet converged on Nexus Prime, the galaxy held its breath. The ancient legends were about to be tested in the fires of the largest space battle in recorded history. The humans had revealed themselves, at last. Now they would prove whether they truly were the guardians of galactic civilization, or just another species fighting for survival in an uncaring universe. The human fleet that assembled at Nexus Prime shocked every alien observer. These were not the elegant, specialized warships that galactic civilization preferred. Instead, the human vessels looked like they had been built in shipyards that expected constant battle damage and field repairs. Admiral Wanho stood on the bridge of the Terran Dawn, watching as his fleet took positions around the massive space station. Unlike alien formations, the human ships did not arrange themselves in neat patterns. They scattered seemingly at random, making it impossible for enemy computers to predict their movements. "Sir," reported Commander So Young from her destroyer, "alien military advisors are requesting copies of our battle plans." "Tell them we don't have battle plans," Wanho replied. "We have objectives and guidelines. Each ship commander will decide how to achieve those objectives based on the situation they face." This announcement caused panic among the alien fleet. Commanders. How could anyone coordinate a battle without detailed plans? What if ships accidentally fired on each other? What if the formation collapsed? Captain Il Sung, commanding the fast cruiser Incheon Lightning, understood the confusion. "Alien friends," he broadcast on the common channel, "human military doctrine is different from yours. We train our officers to think independently and adapt constantly. Trust us." On Nexus Prime Station, Ambassador Dae Ho watched the preparations with growing amazement. Human ships were doing things that violated every principle of proper fleet management. They shared weapons and supplies freely between vessels. They modified their equipment constantly. Most shocking of all, they seemed to be planning for their own destruction. "Why are they installing explosive charges on their own ships?" asked Commander Taemin. Dr. Sangmin, who had revealed himself as Earth's chief xenobiologist, explained, "Human ships are designed to be sacrificed if necessary. Those charges will ensure that our technology doesn't fall into enemy hands if a vessel is about to be captured." "But that means the crew dies too," Taemin said. "Sometimes," Dr. Sangmin agreed sadly. "But humans prefer death to slavery or defeat. It's one of the differences between our species and yours." While the fleet prepared, human Marines led by Colonel Jin Young were doing something equally shocking. They were studying captured devourer technology and finding ways to use it against its creators. "These quantum processors are more advanced than our computers," reported Lieutenant Commander Hae-won, "but they're designed to work in perfect harmony. If we introduce chaos into their systems, they malfunction," Jin Young finished. "Can you weaponize that weakness?" "Already working on it, sir. Give me 6 hours and I'll have devices that can turn their own weapons against them." This was pure human thinking, taking enemy advantages and turning them into weaknesses. It was the same philosophy that had allowed humanity to survive on their dangerous homeworld. Meanwhile, Engineer Yu Na was solving a different problem. The Devourer fleet included massive ship killers that could destroy any vessel with a single shot. Traditional tactics said to avoid those weapons entirely. "We're going to do the opposite," Yu Na explained to her team. "We're going to let them shoot us." Her plan was brilliant in its simplicity. Human ships would use decoy technology to make themselves appear more valuable than they really were. When the big Devourer ships fired their powerful weapons at fake targets, they would waste their energy on empty space while real human vessels attacked from unexpected angles. "This is insane," muttered one of the alien observers. "They're planning to trick the enemy into revealing their positions." "It's not insane," corrected Dr. Yu Jin, who had returned from her undercover assignment. "It's asymmetric warfare. When you're outnumbered, you can't fight fair. You have to be smarter, faster, and more creative than your enemy." As the Devourer fleet approached the system, their communication intercepted human transmissions showed something that confused their artificial intelligence. Instead of fear or desperation, the human ships were broadcasting what could only be described as excitement. "Finally get to test the new torpedo modifications," transmitted Captain Shungwoo. "Been working on this battle simulation for months," replied Commander Mi-young. "Time to see if the theory works in practice." "Remember," Admiral Wanho said on the fleet-wide channel, "we're not here to die gloriously. We're here to win decisively. Every ship that survives this battle is a ship that can protect more civilians tomorrow. The alien crews listening to these transmissions realized something important. The humans weren't just confident. They were treating this battle like a final examination for tactics they had been developing for years. They've been preparing specifically for this fight, Commander Taman told Ambassador Deho. Not just preparing ships and weapons, but preparing strategies designed to counter everything we know about Devourer capabilities. As the enemy fleet entered the outer system, human ships began their first surprise. Instead of waiting for the Devourers to attack, they struck first with weapons that had never been seen before. Captain Junseo's battleship launched what appeared to be simple metal projectiles. But these were not ordinary missiles. They were human-designed smart rocks that used gravitational fields to accelerate themselves to incredible speeds. When they hit Devourer shields, they punched through like the shields weren't even there. Impossible, transmitted the lead Devourer ship. Our shields stop all known weapons. You don't know about our weapons, replied Captain Junseo cheerfully. The battle escalated quickly as both sides revealed their hidden capabilities. The Devourers unleashed new ship designs that no one had seen before, vessels specifically, built to counter human unpredictability by using overwhelming firepower to destroy large areas of space. But the humans had prepared for this too. Their ships split into small groups that moved independently, making it impossible for area effect weapons to hit multiple targets. When Devourer ships tried to destroy a human formation, they found they were shooting at empty space while human vessels attacked from completely different directions. This is chaos, General Varkoth said, watching from Nexus Prime. How can anyone follow what's happening? That's the point, Dr. Sangmin explained. If we can't predict what our own ships will do next, neither can the enemy. Human commanders are trained to make decisions quickly based on incomplete information. The most shocking moment came when Lieutenant Yuna's cruiser Dejin Fury was surrounded by 6 Devourer destroyers. Instead of trying to escape or calling for help, she did something that horrified the alien observers. She rammed her ship directly into the largest enemy vessel. But it wasn't a suicide attack. At the last second, Yuna's crew evacuated in specially designed escape pods that were actually disguised boarding craft. They landed inside the Devourer ship and began taking it apart from within. We're not destroying it, Yuna reported cheerfully. We're stealing it. Engineer Kyungjia thinks she can reprogram their weapons to target other Devourer ships. Within an hour, the captured Devourer destroyer was firing on its own allies, spreading confusion throughout the enemy fleet. Their shared consciousness, designed to coordinate attacks perfectly, became a weakness when it included a ship under human control. As the battle continued, more human tactics emerged that defied all logical predictions. Ships that appeared destroyed would suddenly reactivate and attack. Weapons that seemed exhausted would find new ammunition from unexpected sources. Most importantly, human crews kept fighting even when their ships were heavily damaged. Look, at this, Commander Taman pointed to his tactical display. That human cruiser has lost half its hull, but it's still engaging enemy vessels. Human ships are built with multiple backup systems, Dr. Sangmin explained. As long as the crew survives, they can keep fighting with whatever equipment still works. This was the revelation that terrified the Devourer command intelligence. They had designed their forces to fight against logical opponents who would retreat when damaged. But humans didn't retreat. They adapted, improvised, and kept attacking even when conventional wisdom said they should surrender. The battle for Nexus Prime was becoming something unprecedented in galactic history. A fight where the outnumbered defenders were actually winning. But the true test was yet to come. The Devourer main fleet was holding back their most powerful ships, studying human tactics and preparing countermeasures. The real war was just beginning. The final phase of the battle began when the Devourer command ship emerged from the main fleet. It was larger than any vessel the galaxy had ever seen, a mobile fortress that carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Worse, it had been studying human tactics throughout the battle and developing countermeasures. All human ships, this is Admiral Wanho, came the transmission across the fleet. The enemy has adapted to our strategies. They're predicting our movements and countering our weapons. We need to do something they can't prepare for. On the bridge of the Terran Dawn, Wanho studied the tactical situation with growing concern. His fleet had performed brilliantly, but they were still outnumbered 3-1. Traditional tactics would never be enough to win this fight. "Sir," reported Captain Seung-woo from his position near the station, "the Devourer command ship is targeting Nexus Prime directly. If that weapon fires, 40 billion people die. Time to impact? 12 minutes. Wanho closed his eyes and made the hardest decision of his military career. "All ships, implement Contingency Omega. Repeat, Contingency Omega is now active." Across the human fleet, crews received the order they had hoped never to hear. Contingency Omega was the ultimate sacrifice play. A coordinated attack that would cripple the enemy fleet, but destroy most of the human ships in the process. Captain Jun Seo was the first to respond. "Understood, Admiral. It's been an honor, serving with you all." His battleship Soul Protector began accelerating directly toward the Devourer command ship. But this wasn't a simple ramming attack. Human engineers had spent months preparing for this moment. "Activating Quantum Destabilizer," reported his chief engineer Tae-ho. "All crew to escape pods." The Quantum Destabilizer was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a weapon that could tear holes in space itself. It required the complete destruction of the ship carrying it, but the resulting explosion would take out anything within 1,000 kilometers. As Jun Seo's ship approached, the enemy fortress, other human vessels began their own final attacks. Captain Mi Young's cruiser launched every missile it carried, then used the empty launchers to fire pieces of its own hull at enemy ships. Commander So Young's destroyer set itself to explode among a group of Devourer cruisers, taking them all with her. But the most devastating attack came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kyung Ja, the engineer who had been working on captured Devourer technology, had discovered something amazing about their quantum network. "Admiral," she transmitted, from her position aboard the stolen destroyer, "I can upload something into their main computer. Not a virus this time. Human consciousness patterns." "Explain," Wanho ordered. "The Devourer collective mind is purely logical. It can't handle emotions, creativity, or irrational thoughts. If I upload human mental patterns into their network, it will drive them insane," Wanho realized. "Do it." What happened next had never been attempted in the history of the galaxy. Dr. Kyung-ja, using equipment that combined human and Devourer technology, began uploading human memories, emotions, and thought patterns directly into the enemy's shared consciousness. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Devourer ships that had been moving in perfect coordination suddenly began firing on each other. Their artificial intelligence, overwhelmed by human emotional responses, could not process the flood of illogical data. "I'm uploading everything," Kyung-ja reported. "Love, hate, fear, hope, joy, sadness, all the things that make us human. Their computers can't handle it." Across the Devourer fleet, ships began to malfunction as their minds were flooded with human experiences. They felt the love of parents for their children, the grief of loss, the determination to protect strangers. For mechanical minds designed around pure logic, these emotions were like poison, but the upload was killing Dr. Kyung-ja. The process required her to connect her own mind directly to the Devourer network, and human brains weren't designed for that kind of interface. "Ma'am," her assistant reported, "your neural activity is becoming unstable. You need to disconnect." "Not yet," Kyung-ja said through gritted teeth. "Need to upload more. Need to make them understand what they're destroying when they kill civilians." Meanwhile, Captain Jun Seo's ship had reached the Devourer command fortress. His crew had evacuated, but he remained on the bridge to guide the final attack. "This is for everyone who can't protect themselves," he said simply, and activated the quantum destabilizer. The explosion tore a hole in space itself. The Devourer command ship, caught in the gravitational anomaly, was pulled apart at the molecular level. The destruction was so complete that even its quantum backups were erased. But the human cost was enormous. Over half the fleet had been destroyed, or heavily damaged. Hundreds of human lives had been lost to save billions of aliens they had never met. As the surviving Devourer ships fled in confusion, their collective consciousness shattered by human emotions, The galaxy watched in stunned silence. The mechanical enemy that had seemed unstoppable was retreating in disorder. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Deho stood before the emergency assembly with tears in his eyes. The humans have saved us all, but at what cost to themselves? Admiral Wanho, his own ship damaged but intact, addressed the galaxy for the first time. The cost was acceptable. Humanity did not reveal itself to seek praise or reward. We came forward because it was the right thing to do. But so many of your people died, said Commander Taman. How can you call that acceptable? Because they died protecting others, Wanho replied. That's what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if it costs us everything. In the days that followed, as the galaxy began to rebuild, the full scope of humanity's sacrifice became clear. They had not only saved galactic civilization but had done so while taking minimal alien casualties. Human ships had absorbed the worst damage to shield their allies. Dr. Kyungjia survived her neural upload, though she would never fully recover. Her final transmission from the captured Devourer ship had been heard across the galaxy. Remember us not as conquerors, but as guardians. That's all we ever wanted to be. The Galactic Council met in emergency session to discuss humanity's place in their civilization. Some argued for immediate integration, others wanted restrictions on human military power. But Ambassador Deho had the final word. The ancient texts were right about humans, he said. They are not like us. They are stronger, more adaptable, more willing to sacrifice for others. But most importantly, they choose to use that strength to protect rather than conquer. A new treaty was signed, establishing Earth as a protectorate of galactic civilization, with special responsibilities for defense and crisis response. Human ships would patrol the galaxy, not as conquerors but as guardians. Captain Haye Jin, promoted to admiral after her sacrifice in the First Contact incident, addressed the signing ceremony. Humanity accepts this responsibility willingly. We will stand watch over the galaxy, protecting all species from threats they cannot face alone. And if humanity ever becomes a threat itself, asked General Varkoth, then the galaxy will deal with us as they must. Hyojin replied honestly, but I don't think that day will come. We've seen what we can accomplish when we work together. Why would we want to destroy something so beautiful? The ceremony ended with a moment of silence for all who had died in the war, human and alien, alike. The galaxy had been saved, but the price of that salvation would never be forgotten. In the years that followed, human ships could be seen throughout known space. They responded to disasters, protected trade routes, and stood ready to defend any species that called for help. The legend had become reality, and reality had proven even more remarkable than the ancient myths. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as rulers, but as the guardians they had always been meant to be. The galaxy was safer for their presence, and they would never again fight alone against the darkness between the stars.